Hey, how you guys doing? It's your boy Beastly back at it again with another episode in the Potential Prodigy series. This is the series on YouTube where I give you guys a lowdown on what stats to look for and what stats to avoid when recruiting prospects. That way you guys can have more elite devs and star devs and find the generational prospects while your teammates in the CPU can fight over the normal dev and impact dev. If you're new, I'd greatly appreciate a like, a comment, and a subscription. We are on the road to 5K, and I would like to hit that by the time I upload this for the next coming season. Spoiler alert, I'm recording this the day after Christmas, so I hope you and your family all had a very merry holidays, and more than likely this will get posted in the future, post-New Year, so also a happy New Year's. If you guys would like to have the data, as always, get this video to 1K likes and I will update the Discord cheat sheet. That way the information I talk about in this video can be there with no explanation. Obviously, that's what these videos are for. But if you just want a quick little cheat sheet as per the title, you can go find that on the Discord when this video reaches at least 1K likes. Next is my Discord. Discord is in the description of almost every video and or stream I post. So if you're new, join the fam. There you get early access to several things, little teasers for thumbnails, voting for series and, YouTube videos and much, much more, along with the college football cheat sheet right here. These are the stats that I basically record on my little tablet that then go to you guys. So if you want to have a little recap of stuff, there you go. Join the cheat sheet down below and appreciate y'all. After getting all that out the way, I hope you guys are having a fantastic time, depending on whenever that is in the future you guys are watching this. As you guys know, our previous episode was on pass pro tackles. As you guys know, my previous episode was on pass pro tackles, and today we will be covering raw strength left and right tackles. And spoiler alert, I don't like them. I know, crazy concept, but I will give you many reasons throughout this video on why I don't like them, but TLDR, this video was actually supposed to be recorded by like the 17th or the 18th. However, I had to delay this video an additional week just because there were so many problems with the raw strength linemen. And if you've watched the previous episodes, the comp I'm going to give them is basically they're the contact seeker lineman equivalent. Tommy Sizemore, as you guys can see right here in front of you, he's probably the best tackle of the raw strength variety I found in my 150-ish classes. Yes, you heard that correctly. This video was delayed because this archetype is terrible. The 10 classes I have for this video were 10 of 150. I honest to God, not even trolling, stop counting after 100. So this could be higher than 150. This could be lower than 150. I don't remember the exact number. All I know is that I gave up recording the data points after 100 classes because they just don't spawn. I'm not even trolling. Some years I did this, there were literally 0 raw strength left or right tackle of the 4 and 5 star variety. They just didn't exist. So when you have all those years where you're getting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, stuff like that, obviously you can't build up a large enough sample size off of that. So that's like the first problem I have with them is just their spawn rate. But anyways, back to the stats. Tommy Sizemore over here, Sizemore, you guys always let me know in the comments how I can't pronounce stuff. Let's go over his stats, and I will show you what a generational one looks like. And honestly, even him, he looks very good, obviously. For every one Tommy Sizemore you find, there are like 35 duds. So just keep that in mind. This archetype is significantly more difficult to keep track of, hence why they have the comp of the contact seeker. Let's go over stats very quickly. I don't want this video to be too long because this archetype is garbage. Their awareness can range from the low 60s all the way to the low 70s, which is pretty interesting. Their run block can range between the low 70s and the low 80s. Their run block power can range from the high 70s to the high 80s. The pass block finesse can range from the mid 60s to the mid 70s. The pass block they can have, it ranges from the low 70s to high 70s. The pass block power ranges from the low 80s to the mid 80s. Pass block finesse ranges from the mid 60s to the low 70s. Impact block ranges from the low 80s to the low 90s, which is pretty interesting. Their agility ranges from the mid 60s to the low 70s. And last but not least for this part of the video, their strength is all over the board, from the low end being an 86 and the high end being a 95. So I know a bunch of those, the stats, those numbers, the mumbo jumbo, a lot of that doesn't really matter. But let me go over Tommy Sizemore real quickly, and I'll probably show Tommy here and then swap to the bum. That way you guys can see a stark compare and contrast of what I'm referring to about how just irritating this group is. So for Tommy, He has 69 awareness. The best I ever found was 70, so he's basically upper percentile there. His run blocking is a 79. The best I ever found was an 81, so he's just a few points short of having the best I ever found. His run block power is an 87. The best I ever found was an 88. Again, one away from perfection. His run block finesse is a 75. The best I ever found was a 76. Again, you see a trend here, 1 point away from perfection. His pass block is a 74, which is the first not, very good thing he has. 74 is the mid-range. The lowest I ever found was 72. The highest I ever found was 79. So 74 is kind of, I guess mid-range is me being generous. It's more of a low stat, but considering the first 4 stats we named were just all upper percentile stuff, it just kind of fits. His pass block power is an 86. The best I ever found was 86. He tied for the absolute best. His pass block finesse is a 67. The best I ever found was a 71. That's pretty good. His impact block at the best I ever found was 91. He is tied with that number at 91. His agility is 66. The best I ever found was 70. The lowest I found was 64. Kind of in that lower percentile for both pass block and agility. But again, I can forgive that when literally every other stat is kind of insane. And then last to walk off here for the moment, his strength is a 94. The best I ever found was a 95. So for almost every numerical metric, Tommy Sizemore was that dude. He's insane. Again, top percentile in pretty much everything. I know he is a gem, but even if there wasn't a green gem up there, I would be able to tell just off his stats alone that this kid's special. But again, these guys are very dangerous because for every one Tommy Sizemore, you will find just an army of bumps. So, in my endless time of going insane, recording these guys, jotting data points down, and going class over and over and over, it was starting to really annoy me that I couldn't consistently figure out why was I able to get some raw strength players who were generational or elite dev or star dev, but then other guys were impact dev and normal dev. I really couldn't figure it out. But then rather than me just bashing my head endlessly against the wall, I reflected my older videos, and in my older videos, it came to my conclusion that, hey, maybe this archetype is a lot like contact seekers or field corners, where the bulk of the stats that you need, the game doesn't actually show you. And once when I started tackling this problem with a different way of thinking, I was like, okay, well, what are the stats that they don't show you, and what would they matter for an offensive lineman if you didn't watch the contact seeker video? Basically, for contact seekers, they need high strength, high trucking, and high stiff arm, which just makes sense. That's what their archetype is predicated on. But for some reason, EA will give you their catching and their juke move and their spin move, the things you're not supposed to be really doing with contact seekers. I know, weird. And so I was scrolling, and I noticed for the pass block linemen, it gave you their acceleration, but they removed that for the raw strength. So then I started documenting that. And what I found was on average, the raw strength tackles have a crazy range for acceleration between being the lowest I ever found was 70 and the highest I ever found was 80, which is nuts. That they can have stock as much acceleration as like some tight ends do, which is just bonkers. And as you guys can see, Tommy Sizemore over here has 79 acceleration. The best I ever found was 80, meaning he's upper percentile in acceleration like everyone or like every other stat. So for him, the rest of his stats kind of follow suit. However, not everyone's like him, right? Some of your linemen of the raw strength variety will have putrid stats, but then they'll still have a crazy dev trait. And I started to notice that why are all of the really fast raw strength guys, just like the really fast pass pro guys, they all have dev traits too. And I started to realize very quickly, oh no, this was another stat that, again, just like the contact seekers, you can't unfortunately see acceleration until they're already on your team, which sucks. And at that point, I was like, okay, boom, I found the stat, video done. I can, record this, yada, 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 move on with my evening. But then I was wrong. Because then out of nowhere, I started finding several players with pretty bad acceleration, and they still had good dev traits. I'm like, okay, well, acceleration's not the important stat, but it's a important stat. It's not like the end-all be-all, but it's very important. The actual most important stat, as you'll see as I scroll all the way to the right here, is unfortunately lead blocking. Lead blocking is the most important stat for raw strength linemen, which actually makes a lot of sense, because if you break down what the archetype is supposed to be, it's meant to be the running archetype. Kind of how pass protectors are supposed to be inherently people for who pass the ball a lot. Raw strength guys are supposed to be the inverse for people who run the ball a lot, hence why they have very strong power moves to then set blocks, to set edges, and push people with a lot of that power, and again, being a running archetype. Lead block is a integral part to do that. You can't push a lineman without having high lead block. You have to have high lead block. You have to. So then I started thinking, okay, well, what if lead block is a lot like acceleration, where it's not the most important stat, but it's a very impactful stat. So if you could show me what their lead blocking is, most of the time I can guess what their dev trait is. Well, I started looking, and sure enough, just like acceleration, there is a massive range for lead blocking. The lowest lead blocking I ever found was 70, and the highest I ever found was 84. So as you guys can see with Tommy Sizemore, he is upper percentile for like 8 of his 12 stats. He has 2 stats that are pretty low, but then as you can see, 81 out of 84 being the high end for lead blocking is insane. So this dude, for almost every stat, is upper percentile, obviously making him elite dev. But again, like I've mentioned, and I'm going to keep stressing in this video, be very careful with these guys, because if they don't have a gem, you can't guarantee a dev trait. And I will show you right now why you can't guarantee a dev trait. So here I have a different class, and we will cover another example just so you guys have a little more knowledge of what we're going on. So as you can see with Quentin, not even pronouncing that last name, but good try. He's elite dev, obviously 4-star gem, pretty good. Again, if you listen to my recommendations, you would go after him just because he's a gem. Therefore, it guarantees at least impact dev. But let's go look at his stats pound for pound, shall we? Awareness 63. The lowest I found was also 63. So literally bottom percentile awareness. Run block of a 75. The lowest I ever found was 74. Run block power of an 80. The worst I ever found was a 79. Run block finesse of a 65. The worst I ever found was a 64. This dude is lower percentile at literally everything. This dude is a bum at pretty much everything. Pass block of a 74. The worst I ever found was a 72. Run block power of an 82. The worst I ever found was an 80. Just a few points away there. Pass block finesse of a 65. The worst I found was a 64. Impact block, the worst I found was an 86. Excuse me, the worst I found was an 81. His 86. That one's actually decent. He's like one decent stat, which is pretty cool. Agility is really high at a 69. The highest I found was a 70 there. And obviously strength, the highest I found was a 95. So he has good agility, good strength, decent impact blocking, and pretty much dookie everything else. So Beastly, how in the world is he elite dev? How does that make any sense? Well, remember what I was telling you earlier about acceleration and or lead blocking kind of being a very big deal? So I already showed you what the scouting report says. Let's go into Quentin, again, not saying your name. Let's go into his stats, and as you guys can see, boom, 80 acceleration. Like I mentioned, acceleration is not the end-all be-all. However, it's a very important stat, and as you can see, 80 is tied for the best I ever found, which is upper percentile acceleration, which is cool, but that's not the main reason why you clicked on this video, nor is it the main reason why you're still yapping in this far in this video. As you guys can see, bam, Quentin has 84 lead blocking. There you go. So yeah, even though he sucks at everything, right? He's not very good at many blocking stats. He's decent impact blocking. He has decent strength. He has good acceleration and the top tier lead blocking. So this is what I meant by just try to avoid them if you can. Just generally, it's not worth the headache to have to just cross your fingers and hope that they have high acceleration, that they have high lead blocking, because again, you can't see those stats until they're already on your team. But Beastly, that's one example. Let me go show you the inverse of why I keep warning you guys on being very careful with this archetype. So as you guys can see, we're back on the file with Quentin, again, not saying his name, but as you guys can see, good strength, good, we already covered his stats. But his running mate down below, Corey Wolf, this gentleman, as you can see, he's supposed to be normal dev, but we're just to save time in this video, he's actually not bad. Like, he would be a prime example of just fool's gold. A perfect example. Literally tied for the best strength I have found doing 95. He is tied and or very good at everything else. He's kind of low impact block at an 84. So that's kind of not very good, but good agility, good run block power. Again, you can cover the stats I've already mentioned, but he's really good at many facets. And you would assume, hey, he doesn't have a gem, but this guy's probably at least impact dev. You see the strength, you see everything he has to offer, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, he has to be good. But no, my friend, he's normal dev, and let me go show you why he's normal dev. So as you guys can see, we are now in charge of the Michigan coach, so you guys can see straight from the depth chart. Here is Corey. Acceleration of a 74. Like I've mentioned, it's not the most important stat. However, it's still a very important stat. And as you can see, the lowest acceleration I ever found was 71. So he's just a few points away from minning out with acceleration, which is not good. But Beastly, that's just one stat. What about the other important stat? If we scroll all the way to the side, as you can see under the lead block, he has 71 lead block. That is why Corey is normal dev. That is why you would be 1000% debated if you were to go after a prospect like Corey Wolf. You would think, oh, he is decent this, decent that, pretty good this, pretty good that. But then the two most important stats you have to see, that being acceleration and that being lead blocking, you don't have access to. Which is why I mentioned earlier in the video, yes, you can find people like Tommy Sizemore. You know, you can find him if you're lucky. But for every one of him, there's like 35 Corey Wolves. And if he's not normal dev, he's going to be impact dev. And he's going to barely grow. And the point of this series is to show you what generational guys look like or elite dev guys look like. Not what, you know, not the guys who pretend to be good. So how you could just avoid this from ever happening to you is just only recruit raw strength guys who have a gem. Now, does that significantly reduce how many you can go after? Yes. If you are a really bad program and you would just want to risk it for the biscuit, go right ahead. Use my numbers, use my net metrics, and you can do the best you can do in that situation and just roll the dice. But if you're a online dynasty or an offline dynasty, but you're a really good team, they're just raw strength guys just aren't worth it. Their stats suck. Their spawn rate sucks. Everything about them sucks. Their abilities aren't that good. It's just most of the time, I would probably say 6 to 7 out of 10 times, you're going to find a normal dev or an impact dev guy who you think's really good. And when you're looking for the elite dev guys or the generational guys or the star dev guys, you might miss them. So just keep that in mind. I don't like this archetype. It's pretty bad. And I guess I can go show you some more examples real quick while you got a few minutes left in this VOD. So very quickly, to not make this video drag on too long, here's Marco Peely. I'm assuming is how it's meant to be pronounced, or Marco Peel. The E might be silent. You guys always let me know in the comments. He has top percentile stats in awareness, run block power, pass block power, impact block, and raw strength. So yeah, this guy would be an example of someone I would feel very comfortable taking without having a gem. But as you guys can notice, he has a ton of very high stats. And he's a 5-star. So the probability of him being good is already pretty high. Again, to set yourself up to not fail as much as possible. So I got another class I can go ahead and show you for the video. Again, I do apologize for not showing as many examples of just bad ones. It's just there's really no point, considering that whether they're good or bad, they're kind of all over the place. Again, excluding the 5-star guys who are pretty obviously good. Another thing that I probably will mention a bit later on into the video is that these were also hand-picked classes of like the best of the best. I will show what a garbage class probably looks like later on in the video. I mean, hell, you can see one right here. There are 6 potential people in this class. And of the 6, 2 of them are 5-stars who were, you know, gems, who are also, spoiler, both elite dev, and I'll show you why they were elite dev momentarily. But yeah, it's just, these classes are very cherry-picked. So just realize this was the best 12 or best 10 classes out of about 150 to like maybe 200 total classes. It was just an insane amount of simming to get these results. But first we have on the screen is Walt Hag. You can see the stats. Most importantly, you guys see he has very high strength along with Bruce Eichenberg. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. He has decent strength of a 91, not as good as the others I've shown you. However, he's better impact block of an 88. And as you guys can see, he's pretty good stats. Good pass block. You know, you guys can see the stats. Don't want to drag the video on much longer. But yeah, these two gentlemen are really good, as you can see from their stat spreads. But again, they're good, but they're also better somewhere else on the board. So just to show you the 2 missing stats you guys couldn't see for Bruce Eichenberg, as you can see, his acceleration is a 78. Upper percentile, W. Too bad the game wouldn't show you that on the scouting report. And if you scroll all the way over to his lead blocking, bam, it's an 80. Would I like to see that a couple points higher? Yeah, I would love to see an 84, an 83, an 82, but like the bottom is a 70. So is he anywhere near the bottom? No, he's nowhere near the bottom. Is he, you know, the top percent? Also no, but I would say only being 4 points away from being perfection is not bad by any means. Like, just to honestly give you just an idea of how much of a difference we're talking here, the random gen guy, this dude who's an impact agile guy who's been in the USC system for several years. I think he's a real player probably, but either way, this dude has 87 lead block. This freshman has 80. Like, just to give you an idea here, like just what we're talking about here. There you go. And then to wrap up this video for examples, we have Walt Hag acceleration. Again, would I like to see 80? Sure, I would. But am I going to complain about 77 acceleration? That was just a few points away from being perfect. No, I'm not going to complain. Then we scroll over to the magical stat of the evening. As you can see, he is 82 lead block. He is 2 points away from tying the record of 84, the best I've ever seen. There you go. It's really sad, and I really hate that EA Sports does this. In my opinion, I think on the back of the scouting report, it shouldn't be the same vanilla generic stuff. You should get the stuff that matters. And unfortunately, for contact seekers, for field corners, and now for raw strength linemen, the two most important stats that you don't have access to, being lead block and acceleration, are not present. So just every single time you scout them, just know you're running a very good risk of getting a Corey Wolf, where the guy looks amazing on paper, he meets every metric, he gets to your team, he's normal dev, and then you check his lead block and it's like a 75 or like a 73 or like a 70, and his acceleration is also like a 71, 72, and you're like, oh, well, he has no acceleration and no lead block. Again, do they all have to have high acceleration and all lead block? No, right? I'm just telling you that from what I've seen, most of the good ones, the elite ones, the generational ones, and the star dev ones have high acceleration and lead blocking. I'm not saying all of them do, but most of them do. So if you were to just bet your money on these two stats plus the other 6 stats, you can probably guess at a very high clip, but unfortunately you can't see these stats till they're already on your team, sadly. Now this is going to be a super quick segment of the video. As you guys know, towards the end of these, I love to show you what examples look like, not just when they're on your scouting board, but once when they're already on your team. But unfortunately, as you guys could probably guess, A, aside from having a very rare spawn rate, B, having a god-awful stat spread, and C, having mid abilities, I don't get them in most of my dynasties. So I literally checked all of my dynasties, whether my streaming series or you know, fun random challenge runs. I don't have a single 4 or 5 star raw strength guy who still plays tackle. And if you can kind of guess where I'm going with this, they're good on you. But in my opinion, I can't have a left or right tackle on my field with 80-something pass block finesse. Finesse rushers are everywhere, like whether it's CPU or online dynasties. A lot of guys have finesse moves, whether it's linebackers or edge rushers. So I can't have a guy on my edges who can't protect the edges. But if you're a guard or a center, you get a buddy, right? You can double team a D tackle, you can double team someone and have help. So when he has help, I don't feel like he's as much of a liability. But unfortunately, because I'm constantly moving them out of tackle to guard and center, I don't have any examples of them at tackle. So his abilities might be a little different. I do apologize. I'm going to assume they have the same abilities from tackle to center. If they don't, again, like the edge setters, I do apologize. I don't play them at tackle. So there you go. But very quickly, let's go ahead and run through his stats real quick. He is a impact dev, so he's not too good, but he's, you know, better than nothing, as one could say. Awareness of a 66 is just a few points higher than mid, which is not very good. A lead block, though, of an 82. That's pretty flipping good, considering we know the max is 84, so that's pretty cool. His run block is a 78, which is actually really high. The highest I ever found was an 81, so especially for a 4-star, 78 is kind of insane. Run block power of an 83 is kind of mid, literally mid, because the lowest is 80, the highest is 86, so 83 is literally in the middle, which is kind of funny. Then run block finesse of a 63. Excuse me, I confused pass block power with run block power. Excuse me. Run block power of an 83 is awful. The low end is 79, the high end is 88. So that is actually really bad, which would explain why he would be impact dev and not elite star generational. Run block finesse of a 63 is just one away from, actually I lied, that actually is worse than the bare min of a 64 I found. So I gotta go update the notes for the YouTube video, but yeah, really bad run block power, really bad run block finesse. Let's go over to the pass blocking, shall we? Pass block power of a 79, again, is really bad. He's actually one below the min I've ever found, so I gotta go update these notes live for the YouTube, for the Discord audience, but really bad pass block power. His pass block's only a 73, which again is one higher than the min, and then his pass block finesse is a 62, which is, again, not very good. So he kind of failed. He has good lead block, bad awareness, bad blocking everywhere else. Strength, he's pretty good. As you guys can see, 93 strength puts him up there, that tippity top area. The best being 95. And then his impact block of an 88 also is very high. But congratulations, you have good, you know, lead blocking and good strength and good impact blocking. All of it means nothing if you don't have the rest of the kit, which obviously he doesn't. Look at the acceleration of a 75. Obviously, if he was, you know, 4 or 5 better, he'd not be impact dev, but middling acceleration for a middling impact dev. and I could have done COD and agility, but I didn't do that because this video is already dragged on for way too long. So as the only example I have on any of my dynasties, I do apologize he's not playing tackle. Again, I move them to guard and center most of the time, so I don't really have any examples to show you, but there's actually a really nice one. Like, unironically for the video, it's actually pretty nice that I don't have an elite dev or a star dev guy to show you because, well, this guy is impact dev and he's kind of very just normal. So fits hand in hand. To wrap up this video, let's cover the abilities. Strong grip W ability. Boost lateral shed preventions on runs. This is insane. Basically, when you get this to plat, basically if the offensive lineman gets his hands on the D lineman, they can't shed. So if you know your opponent has bad power moves, bad finesse moves, and he's just spamming the block shed stat, you can hard counter that with strong grip. So this ability, pretty good. Now, is it worth sacrificing everything else? Probably not, but it's still a pretty good ability. Next we have up is Workhorse. This is actually a very W ability, considering how many ways, especially in an online dynasty, you have of just screwing your opponent and with fatigue. So again, very good ability. Is it worth sacrificing everything else? Probably not. Second level, improved second level blocking. This sounds amazing, and paired with a future perk we're going to talk about later on, sounds amazing. But as we've mentioned, most of them don't have a lot of speed. Actually, you can see right here, you physically can't upgrade their speed. You can upgrade their acceleration, you can upgrade their stamina, their agility, and their COD. You can't change their speed. Whatever speed they have, they are hard capped on their speed stat. I guess you could technically cheese that and move them to receiver or tight end to upgrade their speed, but you can't fix their speed. And so getting your hands on a linebacker or a corner or a safety can be very difficult if your guy is like 55 speed, right? So depending on your lineman, this ability is either really good or it's useless because you physically can't get to anyone to block them down the field. Inside shield, improve double teams on inside runs. Basically, if you run halfback dive or inside zone, the double team, the wham block they will do on the tackle / nose tackle will just move them a lot. But if you're not spamming inside zones or halfback dives, like if you're a stretch enjoyer like myself or someone who enjoys tosses and whatnot, sweeps and stuff like that, this ability does nothing. So just keep that in mind. This is a very situational ability. This ability probably is different on tackles considering he's a center. So this would be an ability I could probably see getting changed. I don't know, again, if they would have that at tackle. If they have it on tackle, it's even worse because why your tackles should be, it's just bad on tackles, but specifically on centers and guards, it's not terrible. But again, it depends on your scheme. And lastly, you have ground and pound, run block, win, fatigue defenders. At platinum, which is the highest upgrade, which shouldn't be that hard considering it's tied to run block, which is a stat you should be upgrading in general. You can, if you pancake somebody, you can basically take them out the game. They will have such little stamina from so much fatigue, they physically can't step onto the field. So if you pair second level with ground and pound, this combo can be disgusting. Especially if you pair it with other perks and other ways of destroying fatigue, this combo, this wombo combo can be disgusting. But again, look at what you're sacrificing to have that wombo combo. You're sacrificing a lineman on your field who physically can't finesse block to save his soul. So if he has a D tackle or a D end in front of him who has finesse moves higher than a 70 or a 75, he's cooked. Not just are you sacrificing just all finesse moves entirely, but you're also sacrificing just so many other good abilities. So is it bad as a combo? No. But I would only buy them as a combo. The other issue is inherently with ground and pound and second level, you want to pancake corners, safeties, and linebackers. But if you guys can see that that's kind of counterintuitive with strong grip, because with strong grip, they get onto the block and they don't let go. So if you upgrade strong grip too much, rather than pancaking them like you want, they'll just hold them forever. Not like the holding penalty, but like literally hold them because they're too good. So if you were trying to run like the max stamina cheese, I would max out second level, I'd max out ground and pound, and probably max out workhorse. I would not touch strong grip or inside shield. Just because you want this guy to be going, again, at linebackers, safeties, and corners and killing them. And I can tell you from experience, if you do get the dream situation of pancaking a corner or a safety, they will lose like plus 10 speed because their stamina and fatigue will go straight to red. And if you don't sub them off the field, any receiver who's faster than like 85 speed can torch them. So on paper, very destructive abilities. But again, you're sacrificing a consistent spawn rate. You're sacrificing consistent quality. You're sacrificing stats. You're sacrificing so much that in my opinion, even as a guy who primarily runs the ball and who likes to run the ball, I don't see a universe in which I would ever go out my way to get these dudes unless I have just no good other linemen in front of me. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this video, and hopefully it didn't end up turning into another 35-minute yap session. But if it did, I appreciate y'all who stuck through the entire video. For the comment question of the day, what is your least favorite lineman archetype there is in the game? I would presume most people is going to be raw strength, but let me know down below in the comments. And let's get to our shoutouts. As always, I hope you have a wonderful morning, evening, night, afternoon, or day, depending on whatever time you watch my content in the future. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, join me a follow or sub on Twitch. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you can, please become a member. Members get early access to all the content like you're watching right now. Members got this back in probably late December, early January when I was doing my binge videos. But either way, members get early access to all my content and much, much more perks on the channel and perks in the Discord. So if you can become a member, shout out to all these beautiful bastards on screen who are a member of the fam. I appreciate y'all. Happy holidays, and I hope you guys a wonderful 2026.